Ready?
Mm-hmm.
Hi.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to TFT, Tarot for
today.
Today. Divine Dabblings with
Overrun.
and me, Banshee.
And we're here because it's the...
Why are we here? Oh, because it's the unhappy hour. We're trying to lighten things up a little bit. We know this is tough. This can be tough, giving bad news. But we're here.
And we're going to do it.
We're here for a special service. Not just to tell you the bad news, but how you can turn that frown upside down. So let's get to it, shall we?
The reading is timed to the fourth quarter of the moon, as that is the time when maybe that moon moving into that sliver of darkness sort of spells out what's been bugging you. And of course, the reading is good for the entire month until the next fourth quarter. These are those issues you can work on and possibly how you can work on them.
And you know what? We like to train you. So, get a moon calendar and watch the fourth quarters and know that the reading that you're hearing today will be good till the next fourth quarter moon.
And the reading is designed for all the elemental signs of the zodiac, the fire, air, earth, and water. Plus, we throw in one for
the world
at large. What's bugging the world? So let's get going with our friends, the air signs.
The air signs.
Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius.
Was I supposed to say that?
No.
I'm saving myself for the fire signs.
Well, you know how I feel about that.
After all, it is Aries season!
Indeed. Aries season, and what do we get? An unhappy hour right away.
Well, we had a few days. We had a few days of spring. Okay, a couple.
But for some reason, we've noticed over the last couple of cycles that the fourth quarter moon does seem to arrive shortly after the sun moves into the next sign. I think it varies over the course of the year, but we're at that part of the year where it's closer than not. And there's one other peculiarity about our reading.
Yes. Do we know what it is? We read all the cards in reverse because it's the unhappy hour. And not all reversed cards are bad, by the way. All right.
All right. So, air signs, where does it hurt? What is or will be making you unhappy right now?
Oh, that would make me unhappy. It's the Three of Cups reversed. Nobody likes to be left out of the party, you know?
Yes, it's your party, and you can cry if you want to.
There seems to be either you were disinvited, maybe you were ghosted by people, maybe people who you thought were good friends, they're going and planning events and get-togethers without you. You just feel a lack of support from the people around you right now.
It could be a lot of things. Maybe you thought you were a closer friend to somebody and you're astonished that you weren't invited to their wedding or their baby shower or something like that. It's obvious that somehow you just sort of feel like you're not with people who you thought cared about you.
Right. So, hey, how are you dealing with all of this? Air signs? Well, it's the Six of Pentacles. Six of Pentacles is, of course, reversed. So, not dealing with it too well. You're not feeling very balanced right now. And as a matter of fact, I would say that you might be doing a little bit of tit for tat here. If they're making you feel like you're lacking support, you're going to make them feel like they're lacking your support. It's sort of like you might be withholding something from them.
Well, I see the possibility too that maybe, the out of balance reaches to the area where you just decide to go for comfort food binge, drinking binge, overdoing anything binge that takes you away from this feeling of pain. I'll show them, I'll just do this to excess. So it's sort of like saying excessive behaviors to make you feel comforted.
Things clearly are not in balance. All right.
All right, but card 3 is, are your feelings actually justified?
Well, we have the Five of Wands, and the Five of Wands is here in this position, reversed. The Five of Wands reversed.
Maybe these people weren't ever really your friends. Maybe they were just basically people who you dealt with, and maybe some of them didn't really like you, or maybe you misgauged what the relationship really was. They were just co-workers and nothing more, but somehow you were fooled by that.
Or, you're starting to realize now, maybe looking back, that there's been nothing but conflict or confrontation or things that upset you about this group. And so maybe that's why now you're starting to recognize this, and that, your feelings are justified, which is why you're acting out the way you are here.
So
but is
true.
that healthy?
It is true.
So how about we figure out how to turn that frown upside down in a more healthy manner, I hope. So I pull the card. Oh, it's the Eight of Wands. The Eight of Wands is reversed.
Well, it may be saying that what you thought was the target, looking for their appreciation or entry into their golden circle, is not the target. Or that you were just misdirected, or that you need to redirect your energies.
Yes, how you can turn that frown upside down is by, focusing more on what you need to do next. In other words, do you really need to hang with people who, is this habitual behavior? Is this just a one-off thing that happened that maybe you blew out of proportion? Focus on this and figure out what your next move should be, instead of just scattering yourself all over the place or drowning yourself in excess like Mr. O suggested.
Well, I didn't suggest. I just saw that as the possibility.
I thought that was one of his suggestions.
Indeed.
All right. So do we want to recap this?
All right. So it does start off kind of indicating that, it wasn't your party and you did end up crying perhaps. But the worst part maybe was that you really just didn't want to address that actual issue. You wanted to sort of blind yourself to this sorrow by maybe putting in more time at the gym even. This could be overdoing anything that just sort of misdirects your feelings here.
There's something out of balance, and I would just say too that you could be withholding now from others. The thing is, make sure, I understand wanting to get a little revenge or wanting to give a little bit back to people who are giving the same to you, but make sure you're not taking it out on other people close to you. Make sure that's not getting in the way here. Either way, though, this is not very healthy behavior. But your feelings are justified about this bunch because you're starting to realize, hey, we argue a lot. We don't seem to get along anymore. Maybe I'm holding on to this for no good reason. Maybe I should walk away.
Nobody's being pleased on either end of it.
And finally, the outcome here, how you can turn this around, in my opinion, is just focus yourself. Focus yourself on what you need to do to move forward. Don't allow yourself to be scattered in your focus. Don't allow yourself to let them back in, maybe. I think you need to move on.
It could also mean different goals, which is a sense of moving on to find something different to, occupy your attention.
Right. And I guess the thing about this focus, too, is that, if you're not thinking clearly, your thoughts are all over the place about it. It's not going to help. You need to try to figure out if this is just a one-off or if this has been a continuing, escalating situation that you need to move on
You
from.
need to know.
All right.
So that was air signs.
We're on the fire signs. Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius. Aries. It's our season.
It is.
Yes, it is. And you're going to hear about it every single day.
2 days down and 28 or so to go.
Yes.
I can do this.
Scorpios are tough. Okay, my fire sign peeps, let's see what's going on and making us unhappy. What could make Aries unhappy right now? It'd have to be something big. Let's see. Oh, well, it's the High Priestess. The High Priestess is reversed. Well, I would say for me personally, not being able to tune into my inner wisdom would be a bit upsetting, especially if you need it. Maybe right now you just feel like nothing is clear. Usually you can rely on your gut to guide you. You sort of have an inner compass that directs you and tells you what you need to do in a way, or gives you that nudge, and you're not feeling it right now. You're not connecting.
The fire signs are possibly feeling the lack of their intuitive abilities because of Mercury retrograde. And so things are being second questioned, second doubted, second chanced, and you find you can't necessarily rely on that gut instinct. That kind of bums you out because you've needed it, and maybe you're wondering if it's going to come back.
Well, and for those of you fire signs who've just ignored your intuitive abilities or your intuition, maybe it's time to, consider changing that. Consider, tuning in a little bit more, seeing if there's anything to it, right? Maybe you've always had some hunches or different little strange events happening around you, or you being able to figure out something before it happens. Why don't you try to experiment and see if, there's something to it all.
So, card 2, how will you be dealing with this unhappy feeling?
What? It's back. It's the 3 of Cups reversed. This is interesting. It's almost as if the way you're going to be dealing with this, is by shutting other people out. Maybe right now the problem is that, people are trying to coerce you or talk you into something, or, maybe you feel like even in a relationship that things might be moving too fast and you want to get your bearings, but, they're not letting you. And so you're trying to shut people out so you can try to figure out what you need to do.
Right, and it may be that, this is the actual community that normally would be there for you, so if it is about, intuitive abilities and things like that, there's a community for that. There's people who understand you and get you, but right now you are probably, not embracing them. You may actually be a little bit naughty because maybe you resent the fact that, this is happening to you and it doesn't seem to be happening to others maybe.
Well, on the other hand, fire signs, this could also be a sign that you are just withdrawing your support from people around you right now. It just, maybe you feel it's something you have to do because you need some alone time.
Are your feelings justified?
Well, no. Actually, I don't know. Yes, maybe. It's the 10 of Pentacles reversed. If it were upright, I would say no. But it's reversed. And so I kind of feel here, I wonder if this has to do with any kind of family dynamics, even related to money or inheritance, or, something to do with family traditions. This is very interesting to me. I think this is all going to have to come together in a recap. But I'm kind of feeling you feel your feelings are justified because you may be getting the short end of something here. And maybe because you don't want to follow certain family traditions anymore, that maybe that's part of what this whole thing is about.
Well, the trend looks like you might have built up a little bit of a wall of isolation around yourself. And so this is a self-justification for feeling like, things are working out the way they are because nobody is really pushing down the doors to get to you and try to console you. And so you've sort of created that idea perhaps about yourself in your demeanor or in the way you are treating people, which was, kind of coming up in the card 2.
Well, I don't know. How are you going to turn this frown upside down? Well, it's positive anyway. It's the 2 of Swords. The 2 of Swords is reversed. And so how are you going to deal with this situation? Well, you know what? Ultimately, you're going to have to make some moves and decisions here. Ultimately, you're going to have to take the blinders off. You're going to have to get out of your self-imposed isolation from others and make some moves, choices, or decisions.
It really feels like you have to learn how to trust people again, and that maybe a lot of this is taking the time to listen to what others are actually trying to say to you, even if you feel like, it's an affront for some reason, that they don't have your best interests. There's some wisdom there that maybe you need to take in.
We're all so easy in this day and age to just splinter off from each other, rather because either you start talking and arguing about politics or religion or social issues. And so, there's lots of things that divide us right now. What Mr. O is saying here is sometimes the more we dialogue with one another, we can really learn some things and maybe come to some, if not agreement, some understanding of one another. I think, you don't always have to agree with what people are saying, but you have to understand them. So let's take a look at this. It's really kind of an interesting reading for you fire signs. Seems a lot of mental stuff going on here, or, psychic stuff that you're not connecting with. And I feel like in a way, you're maybe in some kind of, I got to put it all together, I think, here to make sense of this. You're getting, you're involved in some kind of family drama or drama with your tribe and friends. And I think here, whether people are trying to get you to choose sides, whether people are trying to get you to just, change something about yourself or your life, or to go along with the group.
You know what it almost sounds like? Somebody in your tribe or your group expected you to arbitrate an issue. Maybe they felt your instincts were the best for it, and maybe you thought you could rise to it. But somehow, maybe others were displeased, others didn't like how that turned out, and maybe others just visibly showed you that.
Well, that's a good story, bro. Now I'll go back to mine.
Okay.
So, this family, this friend drama here leads to this, that, regardless of how they're, you can't avoid them forever, right? You're not going to be able to avoid them forever. So you have to come out and do something about it. You have to come out and say something about it. You have to come out and make a decision. That's just the way I feel here. There's some drama llama going on.
Right, and really what it comes down to is speaking your mind with as much, confidence and clarity that you have been able to find.
Yeah.
Because hopefully you will.
Because, hopefully you'll be able to turn this around. If you pull away, that might be the healthiest thing to do in this situation. Pull away and, try to sort it all out. All right.
So that's what we had for the fire signs.
We are on.
And now move on to the water.
It must be Mr. O and Scorpio.
Cancer, Scorpio, Pisces. What's bumming you out this month? What's not keeping your powder dry?
We got to come up with things like, that show The Weakest Link, right?
Yes.
We got to come up with good one-liners here like Jane did there. The Weakest Link. Shuffle. Well, maybe this is a good interlude to, probably we'll do an interlude at the end of the show, but we're doing a past life special show next week. May 28th. Next Friday. It should be exciting and fun. Join us for that. I'm slowly trying to figure out where the decks I want to use are.
And we're probably going to have to use a timer of some sort to keep it, a little bit on the briefer end so we can do as many as possible.
Oy, we'll have to see.
All right, so water signs, what is or will be making you unhappy right now?
Well, it's the Page of Wands reversed. This is really kind of sad in a way because it's about, number one, you could have received some bad news that's making you happy. Like, for example, you didn't get the job you hoped you would get. You didn't get called for that interview. You're not getting a positive answer from the college of your choice. Something that you hoped would be a good new beginning is not taking place, or it's seriously delayed.
Well, when it's a 1, it could also have indications towards networking or enterprise.
Or even canceled dates.
It could be about, friendships and things like that too. Anything that has that potential to grow. This is maybe saying you're finding out it's not doing as well as you wanted, or it's actually kind of, bad news.
So,
how will you be dealing with?
How will you be dealing with it?
And it's 4 Wands.
Not too badly.
Not too bad. 4 Wands.
It's the 4 of Wands reversed. I think here you're just going to evaluate, your plans going forward now, how you deal with this loss, whatever it is. And I won't rule out it's a job loss. There's so many people losing their jobs right now in the U.S. and maybe worldwide. So I won't rule that out, but I would just say this, that you're trying to figure out where, what you need to do to firm things up. And to, if, for example, things got delayed instead of canceled, how can you move it along?
If this is about, losses or delays in important plans or plans you had counted on, then you may feel like you need the comfort of something familiar. You may feel like, sort of sticking with comfort environments and not necessarily pressing certain issues at this time until you sort of feel more comfortable again. So and that's how you do it. You just go back to comfort.
So really, it's not unhealthy. It's not unhealthy how you're dealing with it. That's true. A surprise, water signs.
So,
I should have just said Scorpios.
Why are your feelings justified, water signs?
Why are your feelings justified?
Or are they?
It's the Emperor reversed. It depending on, I guess, who this Emperor is, right? I guess I would say this. Your feelings are justified because you're really concerned about how you can take charge of this situation. You felt maybe that you had everything under control. Maybe you were overconfident. Maybe your ego got in the way of making the appropriate moves, decisions you needed to make, because you just felt overconfident that this was all going to happen for you. And now your world is kind of rocked.
The Emperor is supremely in charge of things, but to get there, he has to rely on other factors and systems. And so maybe your feelings are justified because you realize some people welched on you, or some people didn't support you exactly the way you wanted. Somebody you feel maybe didn't tell you a truth you needed to know. It could be things like that, and they still represent the idea, though, that although your feelings are justified, somebody welched on you, you didn't have that control over that process that you really should have.
I kind of like that, just this idea that the systems may have failed you, or people may have failed you.
But you're in charge of those systems, Emperor.
Right, the buck does stop with the Emperor, and maybe, you're coming to that realization here that, maybe you overstepped yourself, maybe you overextended people and they let you down. All right.
So, how will you turn that frown upside down?
Ooh, this is not the way. Okay, it's the Magician reversed.
Avoiding being duplicitous, I think.
Right. If I had to do this as a positive, which, in a sense, we're coming up with the way to do this, it would be that. By avoiding being duplicitous, by being very upfront about everything, even and including the mistakes you may have made that, that caused this to not turn out the way you thought it would.
Yeah.
So,
well, we talked about the Emperor sort of being the idea of no control, but the Magician is that on an even more interpersonal level, that there are things within yourself, abilities, forces, mind process, that maybe you need to have better control over, that you need to wield your powers really for good, that if you were in any way compromised by other situations, this could have been part of what led to the unhappiness.
I think part of it too might be that you may have to realize here that perhaps what you were trying to go for, you weren't ready for it. You weren't prepared. You were not, you were not skilled enough. But you thought you would try for this anyway, and that you were overconfident and you were going to get it, but you did not. And so I think you have to come to terms with that fact, and maybe one of the ways to turn this around is to get mentored. Find a mentor, or get into a educational program if you need more training or more skills.
Seminars, workshops.
Get more interested in the field and network with people. There are positive ways to do this that aren't cutting corners, being duplicitous, as Mr. O also said very nicely, and being a fake. Let's put it that way, being a fake. Prepare yourself.
Yes,
do the work.
Avoid imposter syndrome.
Do we need to recap this?
Maybe not.
I think it's pretty clear.
All right.
Good luck with that, water signs.
So we will now move our attention to the earth signs.
Earth signs.
Taurus.
Virgo. Capricorn.
Capricorn.
Capricorn. I just like saying it.
My shuffle.
Ooh. I'm glad you remembered. That's so cool.
So we did mention our monthly modality message, which came out just 2 days ago.
Did we mention it?
Well, in passing, we sort of did. We said that it came around the same time as the Unhappy Hour. Remember that? So that's just a reminder that that reading is also valid for a month, and you can check that out on our YouTube channel as well.
Now, that reading is good for the entire Aries season. So there's still plenty of Aries season left, so you might want to check it out. And I ought to know because my birthday's at the end of the season.
All right. Earth signs, what is or will be making you unhappy right now?
It's the Four of Cups reversed. Well, maybe you're disappointed. Well, maybe you're upset because there's this great opportunity that's come your way, but it just seems to be at the wrong time. You just maybe have had a lot on your plate. You have to release yourself from some of it. So now you're kind of in a quagmire as to whether you should let, something else go, a job you're at now for a different job or a new project or goal, when you're not finished with other ones. You have to decide what you want to do, and it's kind of frustrating because you really don't, opportunities sometimes don't come, especially if it's a big one, but once in a lifetime. And so maybe this is a big decision for you.
It does make you unhappy. It may be that it's really disappointing because of the sense of timing.
Yeah.
That realizing this was an opportunity you had been waiting for. Maybe you were looking at other opportunities, but you were waiting for this one particular one. And now, though, you're not really in a good position to take it. And that's got to be disappointing, too.
Yes. So
how will you be dealing with this?
Well, it's not horrible, but you are a little blue. It's the sun reversed.
The news is a little bit, less than sunny, but it's not the worst because you realize perhaps you still have enough of other things going on that you had decided to do. Most of your life does seem to be measured this way, like kind of looking at positive decisions. The sun maybe indicates that most things are well, so you're going to be dealing probably a little bit better than maybe you might have if it really was more of an urgent thing for you to have.
I like that. I just think that this is something that you can, it's not that, I mean, you're going to be a little bit disappointed, but on the other hand, maybe you're not that unhappy where you are right now. I'm not getting, maybe what you have is just enough for you and you're satisfied. Just because we expect everybody, we've all got to achieve these great heights in life. What is life worth living without that? Well, I don't know. Some people find life worth living just having a simple life, living in a simple home with simple things and enjoying hobbies and crafts. They don't need much more.
Some of that is kind of borne out by the idea of the Four of Cups, the idea of repose before making a decision. So this could be describing the earth sign as somebody who is kind of balanced and okay with this more or less.
Yeah, so are your feelings justified? Yeah, perfect card. It's the World. And it's reversed, and it's not the end of the world, and I think you realize that. And maybe you also thinking in your mind that maybe someday this will come around again. I almost feel here like, because we were talking about timing before, and the world is kind of like timing too, but it's the end of it. But I think you're justifying things by saying, I think this is going to come around again.
I like that a lot because all of those cards really have that sense of a timing about them, of sort of a moving to a point, and then what is that point afterwards? And when we look at the world there and we're wondering, are our feelings justified? More or less they are, but indeed, the world reversed is merely a sign saying there's still time and sort of the need to really get back to that. And it will happen at some point. And maybe you will again be the person in charge of that. Wow.
So how do you, Earth signs, turn this frown upside down? It's the Seven of Cups reversed. Wow, this is, I thought the water signs reading was very interesting today, but this one really takes the cake. Earth signs, I think how you turn your frown upside down is just by making better choices and making, and accepting the choices that you made. This Four of Cups shows, a lot going on, more things coming in. You just can't deal with it now, even though it's a really great opportunity. Live with the choice that you made, right?
This is almost perfect because I think it sort of indicates that this choice is something for the earth signs that absolutely will come back again, and that probably this is a sign to you saying that when this really does happen again, you really will feel fulfilled. You'll feel much happier, like you really did you were lucky you had this other chance, even if it takes a little bit longer than it might seem.
And I think here what it's saying right now is because the timing is so bad because you're satisfied with your other options. You're satisfied with everything else that's going on for you right now. So it's one of those things, if it ain't broke, why fix it, right? Sometimes people like to upset the apple cart. Hey, I, for example, switched jobs a lot. I went to different places, but others don't. They like staying exactly where they are. And if you have a really good position or, let's say a place you live, whatever the case may be here, your studies that you're embroiled in, stay where you are.
I like that. I think that when you especially said, the sort of sense of relaxed feeling like you have a right, more or less, this is what's going to help you clarify your moves in the future, realizing that you are in comfort and you can make these decisions without necessarily stressing yourself out.
And for what it's worth, take it from me, you can, go after these opportunities anytime in your life. Age is only a number. All right. Good luck with that.
So that's the reading for all the signs of the zodiac through their elemental correspondence. And now we are going to
do the world.
The world. What's making the world all wobbly and stuff?
So many things.
I know. This should be an interesting reading, eh?
Uh,
We ask the basic same questions, the 4 questions, the 4 cards, and we try to see if there is a gestalt general feeling that can kind of encompass what the world feels at this time. So keep in mind, this is not necessarily everybody's basic feeling, but it may be more the feeling than not.
So many things.
Okay, world, what's making you unhappy right now?
Wow, this has come up a bit today.
Everybody is missing out on that great party.
It's yeah. Why can't we all get along? Why can't we just party all night? You know, party every day. Rock and roll all night and party every day, right?
The world is astonished to find out that people actually don't want to get along.
Yeah, you know, it's the world. Okay, what's making us, well, it's making us very unhappy. All of the lack of support, cooperation, and things that are going on between countries right now. And I'm embarrassed to say my country, the U.S., is a big part of that. And I think here this is showing this disharmony and this disunity is very disruptive, and it's unfortunately making us all very disconnected and very unhappy.
Well, the typical meaning of the right side card is that there's a celebration that brings people together, and it usually involves some special significance for maybe somebody in particular. If it's reversed, it really is the opposite. It's saying, like, maybe there's real bad feelings for the world, and that maybe we feel that certain people will bear more of the brunt of this than others.
Wow. Well, how is the world dealing with all of this? Of course.
Oh no.
It's death reversed. Stagnation. You know, there's no growth. There's no growth. We're going to be seeing economic turmoil. We're going to be seeing, steps back in so many different areas. It's very unfortunate. It could affect, science, healthcare, education worldwide could be affected by all of this disharmony and disunity, and definitely national securities.
A major part of the world or its function, and this is mostly from government down, will be pulling back and be not deploying anything. They will be going inert in a way. They will pull back because they want to wait and see where things really are going. And I think that's what this comes down to, is nobody, death reverse literally says political inertia. And nobody wants to do anything because they want to see what the consequences could possibly be first.
Are these feelings justified?
I saw you pull that over slowly. Reversed, Queen of Wands.
Well, no. In my opinion. I feel, well, in a way, no, because I feel here we're disempowering ourselves. And also, by feeling this way, by everybody pulling away from each other, instead of trying to find a way to bridge these divides, we're making it worse. We're making it worse by kind of sheltering ourselves from the fallout of all of this.
If we are looking at our feelings being justified and we have the Queen of Wands reversed, this is saying this gives us license to be more bratty, more of a bitch, more reckless, more overly confident, overly brave about things that we maybe should not be.
I went the other way, that she would be like, that people would be like hiding out. And I think both are true to some extent, because we do see this kind of push-pull energy going on here. Bullying, weakness, bullying, weakness. And, there's got to be,
our feelings can't be
like
justified to allow ourselves to become worse people, is where I'm coming from.
How do we turn this frown upside down?
Oh no.
Well, the Ace of Swords reversed. So if you think about it in a way to turn things around, we need more clarity. We need more truth. We need more honesty. We need more integrity. And I think all of those things stand for, the positive aspects of sword cards. Swords wield a lot of power, but if you wield that sword with, with a black heart as opposed to, an empathic heart, the results are quite different.
So the Ace of Swords reverse says to me, say no to war, say no to conflict, say no to feeling like might is right.
Yeah.
And so that's what those attitudes need to encompass to turn the frown upside down, is that when we look at the Ace of Swords, it can be about somebody who wants to be a conqueror. We have to deny those feelings. This is not about conquering time. This is about learning how to live without that.
This was a powerful reading.
I'll say.
I think we'll recap it. I want to look at that Queen of Wands again, but I think I'm going to stick where I'm at with that. I think here, though, I want to say, world, it's time we start learning to support each other again. We gained so much more when there was more cooperation. Hey, it was never a perfect world.
Yeah, this is a good metaphor for that, isn't it?
It was never a perfect world, but you know what? This is what we've got right now. Nobody getting along. A lot of people just
unhappy,
abandoning others, and it's really unfortunate. And so, how do we, how are we dealing with that? Clearly, there's just a lot of things kind of grinding to a standstill. I'm sure that maybe it's not over yet. It's just beginning, I think, this sort of slowing down and stagnation process. I think as this month unfolds, we may be seeing more of that.
I would have to agree with that. There's sort of a sense of really, these new trends about how people, quit at their job quietly by just not doing everything they're supposed to. This could be a little bit of that on that national or international level of just people not doing the things they need to.
Well, with a lot of people illegally losing their jobs in this country, I feel here that
that's going to grind things.
It's already and the high cost of things, shopping is slowing down. People are picking and choosing what they're going to buy, only necessities. So the economies are going to be stagnating. There's just a lot of stuff going on here that does not indicate growth right now. And so,
are the feelings justified?
I feel the feelings are not justified.
I do too.
And I think we feel that way for slightly different reasons, but they are connected. And I think sometimes with this queen, she's so vibrant and upfront and personal and charismatic and strong and courageous that when she's reversed, I feel a lot of that opposite energy. Yes, there is the angry Queen of Wands. She can be angry. I feel this one is kind of like hiding out. It speaks of people who are either trying to deny the truth or just hoping that the truth doesn't come for them. If you get my drift. And I think here that's part of the problem. We can't hide from this. We need to stand together.
Well, no one reading can encapsulate all the feelings of all the various people of the world. So in my opinion, the other people in the world that maybe don't feel exactly the way she described, feel that they're justified and that these feelings give them license to maybe act out a little bit more and be a little more bratty, a little bit more mean to others. It's sort of is a bad way to do it, but it's going to happen, I think.
Well, and I think how to turn the frown upside down is more truth, more integrity, maybe speaking truth to power. I think here that the ace is just saying that, this is all going to turn out to be an empty victory if we do not find the way forward. And the way forward, as Mr. O suggested, and I'm just going to use that part of yours, is not war. War is never the way forward. It's a step backwards.
Give peace a chance. Alrighty. Well, that was kind of tough in a way.
Yeah. Tough love for the world. Tough love for a few people today. But we wish you a lot of love, not the tough kind. And we hope you can work through your issues in this fourth quarter moon.
So until next time.
We'll see you again at the next fourth quarter moon for another Unhappy Hour. Take care, and we'll see you soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.